Right, good afternoon, everyone. We'll start with the uniform rules for collection today. And I need one more session to finish it off. And after the URC, I will touch the Incoterms. Then I will do some assignments which related to URC and Incoterms together. That's for 1 hour from now. Then the next 1 hour will shift to the forex area. So, right, straight away we'll start the URC. Now, before doing the URC, I will remind you the cycle of the URC once again. And remember this handout that I sent you, get a printout, get a hard copy and keep it, preserve it. And this is extracted from the articles. So therefore, do not share with a lot of people. There are 26 articles. Every article is important, but depending on the trend, the pattern, and the paper setter puts the questions, I will select those articles, what 14 to 15 articles. I will mention what the articles, mainly the examiners are get attracted to put questions. So we'll discuss about the articles. Remember, these articles are written in English, all right, but it's not easy to understand when you just read plainly. Therefore, some kind of assistance on read is necessary. The reason why after giving the handout also, the same thing is repeated by me with the elaboration of the articles. One other thing I have to tell you all, the article 2 doesn't come after article 1, or the 3 doesn't come under article 2. This is not a chain effect of articles. So when I'm doing articles, I will, get the anatomy of the articles and I will do like a pickle. If we have to note down very carefully those articles, right? Right. Before that, I will draw up the collection cycle comprising of DP and DA. Right. This is the publication number URC 522, and the revision came into being in 1995. So we are discussing the URC 522 1995 revision. Right. In the this informal correction covers the documented correction, the method of payment of documented correction. There are 4 methods of payments, leaving aside the consignment basis: open account, advance payment, documented correction, and documented credit. So documented correction is mere just touching the outline of the method will not suffice. We need to go through the rules and see what we adopted to facilitate the documented correction to parties, buyer and the seller, despite having the contract of sale in place. So, just to refresh on you all, in a correction, documented correction, there are 2 things we discussed: documents against payment and documents against acceptance. Documents against payment and documents against acceptance. And what is documents against payment and what is documents against acceptance, I have discussed, but there are certain implications with regard to DP and DA that we will discuss further in detail in the articles, with the support of the articles. So these are the areas being covered. DP and DA, the areas are being covered in URC 522, which comprises of 26 articles. 26 articles. Now, in the documented correction, the buyer is known as the drawee, and the seller is known as the principal. So they do have a contract of sale who the buyer, the seller. That is called a contract of sale or sales agreement. And based on that, this correction takes place with the governance of the URC 522. Just mere common law doesn't apply in here. Unlike in the advance payment or in open account, I remember giving you a question, but very few have responded to my question. I wanted to give the similarities and the differences between DP and open account trade. A lot of people have didn't respond. So URC 522 is the governing rule for this correction documents. It's not a set of laws, but it's a set of rules. Country law supersedes the URC opinions. So these are the two parties, the job and the principal. The principal has to perform in the capacity of the exporter. He has to perform by sending the goods towards the drawee, towards the buyer, and the goods have to be dispatched, consigned to buyer. Consigned to buyer. Now remember, you have to give a good thought of it now. Now I'm drawing your attention to the Article 10. Article 10. So when I'm saying Article 10, I don't know whether you have the articles near you. If you do not have the articles, make a reference on this article, and you have to read the articles after session and duration and see what the real factor articles being Article 10 being illustrated in the URC. There are 3 sub-articles, and you need to go through the 3 sub-articles. In a nutshell, what is important with regard to the Article 10, I will just mention now. That's what I said. I will not do the Article 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Depending on the cycle, the way that the articles are being touched, I will illustrate. Right? So I said the principal has to perform, and some performance carries the dispatching of the goods. Dispatching of the goods, that is one way of performing. Other one is to send the documents. So when the goods are being dispatched, what is concerned is it has to be assigned to the buyer, to consign to the buyer, right? It should not, consign to the drawee's bank. That's what it says without saying. It should not consign to the drawee's bank, but it should consign to drawee. Before sending a collection, and if they want to consign to the drawee's bank, they have to seek permission or consent from the drawee's bank. That is from the presenting bank or the collecting bank, whether such goods could be consigned to them. If they won't obtain consent, then drawee's bank will not be obligated. They can handle the documents all right, but they are not being obligated to handle the collection order on behalf of the principal. So there will be probably correspondence because of that. And the ensuing delay cost of this communication will not the presenting bank's liability. So that's the Article 10A and 10B says. So you have to remember, when the goods have been dispatched, such goods should be consigned to drawee only. So you have to read very carefully the Article 10A and 10B. So this is a very favorite article to the paper setter to extract certain questions and put across. Slightly teasing, but not difficult to understand the articles of this particular article, right? So that is Article 10. So the seller has to present the documents. Remember, this is one of the differences between open account and advance payment. In both advance payment and open account, documents are forwarded directly from the seller to the buyer. In case of URC, in case of collection, that is both comprising of DP and DA, documents cannot be sent across the drawee, but channeled through a bank. Everybody who responded to me with that question, I may have given the suggested answer for them. That this is one thing that's important when I give a question for you to make an attempt of doing something, because I will communicate with them separately. So I will give suggested answers as well for the same question that I have given. But I will not have again time to discuss the question what I have given to you in the class. So that takes time. So these documents have to be channeled through the bank, and that bank is called the remitting bank. Remitting bank. The remitting bank will channel the documents to a bank called collecting bank. Collecting bank. Collecting bank. And documents are sent across by the remitting bank, plus with their collection instruction. Plus their collection instruction. If the collecting bank is able to deliver the document the way that the collection instruction states by the principal or the remitting bank, then this collecting bank becomes the presenting bank. If they see that they are unable to reach the draw for some reason, because of geographical reason or farther away, or they don't want just to inform the draw for that matter, they will choose another bank in close proximity of the draw on their own account for them to raise the document in the drawing, and that bank is called the presenting bank. Presenting bank. So this cycle, you remember this. You need to take down again. You must be remembering the cycle of this. So we'll go into slight detail touching the Article 3. Touching the Article 3 to parties of a collection. Right? In the meantime, I will get some pens from the administration, because these pens are not writing properly. Right. So that, of course, I hope that you are fast in the fist. So take it down. Parties to a collection bill. Parties to a collection. From the cycle itself, we will be able to figure out that parties to collection bill, the principal. Right. I hope the board is clear a little now. So parties to collection bill, principal. Right. Underneath the principal, you say, who is the party entrusted by the principal, No, I'm talking about the principal, no? You say, who is the party entrusting its bank within brackets repeating band, entrusting its band within brackets repeating band to handle the correction order. That's the principle. To handle the correction order. Then who is the next party? Repeating band. So, all right, thank you. Repeating band is the band whom being entrusted to handle the collection order on behalf of the principal. You can have this note fine-tuned by looking at the articles. The very same words, maybe in a more polished way, must be written in the articles. Why I'm asking you to write this, despite the fact that the articles are very clear and sound, because these are the questions that we put into MCQs. So by writing, there could be a tendency that you might remember. That's the meaning, right? Would be trusted to handle the collection order on behalf of the principal. Next one, corrective band. Remember, you have to write according to the order. If you put a numerical order, it should be 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. Correcting band is the band, correcting band is the band other than the repeating band. Who handles the correction order on behalf of the principal. Who handles the correction order on behalf of the principal. Presenting band. Next one, presenting band is the band who delivers the documents to drawee. Delivers the documents to the drawee. Actually, it is a collecting bank, right? It's a bank who collects the documents, but delivers the drawee. That bank is called the presenting bank. If that job could be done by the collecting bank, this collecting bank becomes the presenting bank, in other words. So presenting bank is the bank who delivers the documents to the drawee. Now we started with the parties to a collection bill. That is Article 3. Article 3 comprises of 3 sub-articles, 3A and 3B. If you go to the articles, you will see this. There are 3 sub-articles. So, according to 3A, sub-article 3A, parties to a collection is principal, repeating bank, collecting bank, and presenting bank only. Right? Actually, drawee is not a party to collection bill initially. It becomes the party to a collection bill eventually. That is why the drawee's name is not mentioned in 3A, but being introduced in 3B. So if you read in correct context, you will understand that. The possible questions could come in the MCQ test come already. They will mention as per Article 3 without saying A or B. So as per Article 3, there are 5 parties. Principal, repeating bank, collecting bank, presenting bank, drawee. As per Article 3A, drawee is not there. Right? So you have to be careful when you are attempting to MCQ questions, read properly, and for that matter, you have to study the articles properly and understand. Right. I did mention about this collection instruction. I told you that that is the most important document or the most vital document in case of a collection bill that you can come across. And who raises this collection instruction? The revenue bank on the advice of the principal. Usually in practice it happens like this. When an exporter comes to the bank and requests the bank to send the documents on the collection basis, bank gives a replica of the collection instructions to the customer. He fills as if the bank fills it, right? Because he who knows the whereabouts of the drawing and the names and address and the bank details. So looking at the replica where the customer has given, bank prepares the what we call the collection instruction accordingly. So it's the collection instruction is prepared by both bank and the uh, bank and the principal, right? That question won't come. I just said the practical aspect of it. So documents about the remitting bank. Remitting bank will raise the collection instruction. The collection instruction is very important, and there are specific articles for the collection instruction that read very carefully. That therefore you have to memorize a little bit, right? That is Article 4. Mainly Article 4B. But there had been questions from Article 4C also as well. Right? Now, sub-article 4B gives 11 instructions. 11 instructions, all 11 instructions I have given to you all in Roman figures. That is 1 to 11. There are 11 instructions. So I will tell 4 or 5. The rest of the thing you try to analyze and you try to take it down again after looking at that and summarizing. And after that, remember as far as possible about 7 or 8 to attract some marks if the question be posed. Right? What are the collection instructions? It says, Article 4A says that the document should, this particular document, when they are sending the documents, it cautions the what they call the successful banks and the handlers that these particular documents are subject to URC 522. That is the most important thing that has been mentioned in the Article 4. But that comes in the 4A. In the 4B, there are 11 instructions, apart from the URC 522. One is, in the collection instruction, they just at their will, they can't, send the collection instruction to the collective bank. This is how we have to handle it. They have to give that instructions according to the articles. One of the instructions is the details of the presenting bank. Details of the presenting bank. Right? Details, that is the name and address and a kind of thing. Because otherwise, this collective bank will not know. Details of the drawing. Details of the drawing. That is name and address, telephone number, telefax numbers, if they are available, you have to mention them. Then what? How to deliver the documents? Because the collective bank should know how to deliver the documents. Whether to deliver documents against acceptance or payment or free of payment. He should know. So delivery has to be mentioned. Delivery just says method of delivery. Method of delivery. And also, there are 11 instructions like that you will read, right? And also, they have to mention the list of documents being attached in this set. In the covering schedule, the collection instruction, they have to mention these are the documents being attached. Right? Some documents might have in duplicate or triplicate or quintuplicate or whatever it is. So they have to mention in a numerical order and list out the documents and enlist it. So the collecting bank will check those documents whether it been attached according to the collection instruction. Otherwise, they will go back to them to see the verification and take the inventory of the documents being enlisted. Right? And also, there's another one that is important again. If there are any charges involved, if foreign bank charges involved, they have to mention the charges. Charges. Now, there I'm going to shift straight away to Article 20. Article 20 and 21. So, Revenue Bank says, if there's a delay in payment, you collect interest. Or as they will say, you better remit the collective, what you call the foreign handling charges to us, because we who held the collection order on behalf of the principal, so we are incurring a cost there. So therefore, you have to remit the collecting, what you call the handling charges. You recover from the drawing, we don't care that, but we need the charge, and we mention the charge. Right? Right. So we'll pause a little bit and shift to the Article 20 and 21. Right? Article 20 and 21. Right. Article 20 states about interest. Article 21 states about charges and expenses. Right. Right. Article 20 has three sub-articles. Right. Three sub-articles, and Article 21 has four sub-articles up to D. Right. So if the remitting bank says to collect interest for a delay payment or some kind of thing, then they should mention, this is as per Article 20B, note down very carefully, as per Article 20B, if they want to collect interest, they have to mention the rate of interest, then the interest period, that is from which date to which date the interest is required for them to calculate and remit it off, interest period, and the basis of calculation. Base of calculation. Usually when the interests are calculated for dollars, if the bill is done in US dollars, then when you are calculating interest, we consider a 360 calendar day basis, not 365. We treat that every month we will have 30 days. 30 days into 12 months is 360 days. There are instances we have to calculate for 364 days also, and 365 days or 366 days also, depending on the other miscellaneous currencies, other currencies other than US dollars. So whatever it is, the collective bank should know what is the basis of calculation. They should feed everything so that they will not, on their own record, imagine things and then calculate interest, and subjected to fine fall by the remitting bank for remitting less interest. So if they want to collect interest, they have to mention the basis of calculation, interest period, and the rate of interest in the collection instruction. Right? And if you read the Article 20C very carefully, it says, just because the charges, collection instruction says you collect charges on this basis, the collecting bank will refer to the drawee and say, here, look, you have delayed the payment, and therefore there's a charge involved. You have to pay, this is the rate of interest that they are mentioned for the number of days delayed. Then drawee will say, no, I didn't agree such a thing with the sales agreement, so therefore I will not pay the charges. On the charges interest. Then the collecting bank, say the president bank, sorry, the president bank will release the documents to the drawee without collecting the interest. Without collecting the interest. But in the collection instruction, if the remitting bank has stated to collect interest according to the rate of interest, interest period based on calculation, the way that they have given, and also they have stated underneath, do not waive if drawee has refused, or civil expression. Do not waive, W-A-I-V-E. Do not waive if drawee refused, or it says without saying those things, it just says simply, do not waive our interest. Then drawee is bound to pay the interest. If still the drawee is not willing to pay the interest, then positive bank is not obliged to give the documents to the drawee without collecting interest. This is being emphasized in Article 4 and Article 20, B and C. That is how the articles get combined. So when you're reading the Article 4 of the, what you call the, I will give the correct sub-article in that. Article 4 sub-article, correct sub-article of that is sub-article 9. So I'm referring to 4B9. 4B Roman 9. If you read the 4B9, that be further emphasized by 20B and 20C. So that's how you have to read the article, right? So as a short note, what you can do is under articles 4B9, you make a cross reference, say refer 20B and C. Without untidying the handout that much, you can do that, and also always you can have a short note on that. So when you're studying, you have to study the short note. By mere reading the articles 1 to 26 will not suffice anything, right? So that's the correction instructions. What I want to tell you is, out of the 11 instructions being stated in the Article 4B sub-article, remember at least 7 or 8. So if the full, if there's a full question being given, then at least 7 to out of 10, you can collect about 7 to 8 marks there. So at least 5, if you remember, you get 5 marks, right? So reminding you once again, when you're answering a question, put it in point form, right? Now we'll move on to Article 7. Another important article, Article 7. That doesn't mean that you have to read, you should not read Article 5 and 6. You have to read those laws as well. But Article 5 and 6 is understandable, and you can gather info with you to Article 7. So we'll do the Article 7. I think the Article 7 is slightly complex than the Article 5 and 6. Right. Article 7 is another important article. Why I'm saying important is because these are the articles that the examiner get tempted to put questions, right? Because there are a little bit of ambiguities inbuilt in these articles. So Article 7 discusses about the release of documents. Release of documents, right? So release of documents in the sense there are two kinds, whether DA or DB, right? So if you have the articles now with ready with the hard copy, then it says the sub-article A says correction should not contain a bill of exchange payable on a future date, right? With the instruction of the commercial documents saying that the document meaning correction instruction should not state. Correction instruction should not state deliver documents deliver documents against acceptance, right? Now the correction instructions, the correction instructions is the correction. Correction, in a correction document, you have a bill of exchange attached. That bill of exchange says, the bill of exchange in the correction document says, says payable at a future date. Not acceptance, payable at a future date. Payable at a future date. In other words, the bill of exchange drawn as a user's bill of exchange. User's bill of exchange. If that is the case, correction instruction should not have an instruction saying that deliver documents against payment. So this is contrary to this. Understood? In a correction order or the correction documents which carries a bill of exchange, that bill of exchange should not draw as an user's bill of exchange. That's what it says in other words. It should not draw user's bill of exchange if the correction instruction says to deliver against payment. So when you say deliver against payment, bill of exchange also has to be signed. It should not be an user's. That's the inconsistency there. That's what the Article 7A says. But there are diminished clause in the Article 7B. That's why I said there's an ambiguity in this Article 7. Examine the catcher stat. And try to teach you all to see whether you have read the Article 7B and C. Right? 7B says, that is Article 7B says, nevertheless, right? Nevertheless means if being existed like this. Nevertheless, you must not do. But we see a document that they have overlooked or misunderstood and they are sending documents in this way. There's a discrepancy there. So nevertheless, if there's a bill of exchange saying that the payment is paid due on a future date, and the correction instruction says deliver against payment, remember in international trade, in international banking or international trade, when you have a dispute or when you have a confusion amongst the documents in this nature or contradiction, in practice we don't write back to them and wait for the amendment or an answer. The reason why is it's a bit of a costly affair to write, because we don't write letters, we have to send to SWIFT. Sending a SWIFT message is a costly affair. Either bank should absorb or bank's customer should absorb. The other thing, when the SWIFT message goes, sometimes the reply will not come as a return. It doesn't come by return. Right? It might take a little time because the SWIFT messages are sent not to the customer but to the customer's bank. The customer's bank should communicate with them and get the idea and explain what is this bank is asking and then get it rectified and sent across. And that sending across message also has to be authenticated. It might take time. So when it takes time, what happens? The trade transaction have a still defect, and because of the still defect, the buyer unable to clear the consignment. When the buyer unable to clear the consignment in a due time, he will subject to demurrage, that is the fine imposed by the customs for not clearing the goods in a stipulated time. Or if because of the due delay of the correspondence, the goods might suffer, especially if it is temperature sensitive and if the goods are time sensitive. Right? If there are goods time sensitive or perishable items or temperature sensitive, then the goods will suffer. So therefore, to facilitate trade, articles have come into being and says, here look, there's a contradiction now. If you see a contradiction like this, meaning if the bill of exchange is drawn on a future date, and despite the fact that we have told them not to do like that, we see a correction instruction completely opposite of that. In acceptance, we see a instruction saying deliver this payment. And it says very clearly, if that is the case, you deliver the documents against payment. Deliver documents against payment. That is why I said, if collection instruction been upheld, that is the most important document. Customer say, no, I have agreed to supplier's credit. So supplier agreed to give me a credit period, and this is a mistake by the collection instruction, but the bank will say no. If that's the case, we are unable to release the documents until we clarify. If you want the documents, you have to take it by making the payment. PP. That is what the Article 7b says very categorically. Right? So you have to read and understand very well Article A, Sub-Article B, and Sub-Article C. So if there are any questions, but you all just make a point on the chat box. I will try to illustrate, especially if you are 1 or 2 people. If you are in the trade division, you might have practical situations. Not fall in line with me with the articles sometimes. If there are any questions like that, you can put forward. Right. But the Article 7. Right. Now we'll revert back to Article 2. Revert back to Article 2. That is the definition of collection. Collection. Right. What is collection? By obtain payment and or acceptance by obtain payment and or acceptance or deliver documents against payment or documents against acceptance or deliver documents in other terms and conditions. So this what does it mean by collection? If they ask what do you mean by collection, definition of collection, that is, collection means obtain payment. Bank can receive payment. The collection by payment or by acceptance in the part of positive bank, right? Or deliver documents against payment, or deliver against acceptance, or deliver documents in any other terms and conditions, the way that the debiting bank says, this you have to be held. Right. So that is collection. So what is documents? Now remember, when I give these definitions, this definition is exclusively for URC. So when I say documents, that is a very generic term that I'm using, but it says without saying the purpose of URC, what documents means, right? Right. So documents means, as a piece of the definitions is very clearly stated in the articles. By mentioning again, when you hear and when you read after the third time, you will remember at least to structure the answer. So documents means, right? Documents means financial documents and or commercial documents. It could be either financial documents or it could be financial That's commercial document. Right? Or it could be commercial document without having the financial part of it. Now see, I will read out what the article says in bold letters. Documents means financial documents and or commercial documents. But you have to understand in this manner. Now this is not being illustrated in the article. That you need to have an aid for that. So documents is either financial or financial and commercial documents. Or just commercial documents without having the financial documents. So what are the financial documents? Financial documents are being stated in their bill of exchange. You know what a bill of exchange is? Promissory note, checks, or other similar financial instruments. Bill of exchange, promissory notes, checks, checks, or any similar other financial instruments. What is commercial document? Commercial documents is transport documents, documents of title, invoices, or any other document which does not have a characteristic of financial instrument. Right? Right. Clean collection. Clean collection means collection of financial documents. Collection of financial documents which does not accompany any commercial document. Clean collection means collection of financial documents only. Collection of financial documents only, which does not accompany any commercial documents. Right. So, not a cross reference, rather, there's another mention in the articles about the clean collection, especially in the article 19A. 19A, not just a cross reference, but just make a symbol in there and read the 19A. It doesn't give any kind of influence of this nature, 19A, but it's a mention about the clean collection in the articles, especially in the 19A. Right. So clean collection means, remember, clean collection means handling only financial instruments, financial documents. And that documents will not have any company of commercial documents. Then what is document declaration? Document declaration. Now that is important now. Document declaration means financial documents accompanied by commercial documents. Document declaration means financial documents accompanied by commercial documents. Financial documents or financial instrument accompanied by commercial documents. Right? Or commercial documents, now see the difference, huh? commercial documents which does not accompany financial documents. Which does not accompany financial documents. So I will say minus FI. Document collection means commercial documents plus finance, that is why you get a bill of exchange along with the documents. But there are certain document collections, especially DP, drawing a bill of exchange is not a must. If they call for a bill of exchange, fair enough, but that bill of exchange has to be side draft. But we are not insisting to draw a bill of exchange in case of a DP. Why is that? We have been facilitated to do that under the definition of document collection. Commercial documents without a financial instrument may be served in DP. But in case of a DA, drawing a bill of exchange by the principal is a must. Financial instrument plus commercial documents. Right? So that is what the document collection means. Not means the definition. Now, last year I said, in the case of a DA, drawing a financial document or a financial instrument, example bill of exchange, is a must. So I will say, I'll put asterisk. And you have to have the commercial documents also as well. Otherwise, it won't become a document collection. That is why the word documentary has come, because you associate with documents. Otherwise, it becomes a clean collection. Commercial documents. Now, this is what a DA. So we insist for a bill of exchange. There are instances because there are certain countries, especially in the Europe, drawing a bill of exchange is a bit of an expensive affair because it attracts a lot of stamp duty in those countries, especially in Germany. So therefore, despite the fact that the rule says, and the buyer needs what you call the bill of exchange, because the buyer's bank needs it. Otherwise, the documents will not get released to the drawee until he accepts. You don't accept just a document, you always accept a financial instrument. So nevertheless, having that aspiration, certain sellers, principals, they don't draw a bill of exchange because of that tax issue and stamp duty. Right? But they are saying it's right. But they will inform their banker, the remitting bank, and say, drawing a bill of exchange is expensive, and therefore you make a suitable clause in the collection instruction so that the proceeding bank will accept and their buyer will accept. So, then the remitting bank, what the remitting bank will say to the proceeding bank or the remitting bank who handles the documents, in the collection instruction they will state to obtain a letter of undertaking. To obtain a letter of undertaking by the drawee, that the drawee will pay. In other words, get a promise, not a promissory note, but to get a letter of undertaking. It would be a promissory note as well. So when they give a letter of undertaking, when they say the proceeding bank will know the bill of exchange has been enclosed in the covering letter. Because I told you, if the documents are being attached, they have to list it out. In the list, the bill of exchange is not there. If the bill of exchange is not there, if there is no clause, you can't accept the bill of exchange, or what you call the documents. You return the documents back. To avoid that, they will say, in the absence of the bill of exchange, please obtain a letter of undertaking from the drawee. Right? And if they say that to obtain a letter of undertaking, then they have to give the format and the correct wording. The format and the correct wording. format and the wording. Otherwise, President Bank will take a letter of undertaking at their will, and the drawing also will give just a letter of undertaking with the caption, title, say letter of undertaking. I solemnly declare that I will accept the documents and pay like that. So certain words and phrases and the sentences or the way that they make implications will not good in the eyes of law in the principal's country. So if they want to create a document by the President Bank, then they should give the format and the wording. Right? Article 8. So Article 8 is paramount important, meaning double asterisk. You need to read more than once. There are plenty of questions being based on this. Very little explanation, but the way they put the question, you might think how to reply that. So I have given the answer. You read the article very carefully from top to bottom. There are about 5 or 6 lines with regard to Article 8, creation of documents. Right? You cannot tend to forget that. Right. So the other thing is, remember, in the international banking transaction, for that matter, being in a bank, all transactions have to be handled with care. So Article 9 of the URC says that also as well. Banks will act in good faith and exercise reasonable care. So they are the two obligations by the banks who handle the collection order. Two qualifications. One is to handle, banks will act in good faith, and exercise reasonable care. Exercise reasonable care. Contrary to that, there had been a decided case in Sri Lanka, but due to environment of this nature of this class, I won't be able to do the excerpts of that particular case, but I have jotted down the case. If you have, I don't think the Google search is possible because it's been encrypted, but the case is the Vanathamidya Vineyard versus Commercial Bank of Ceylon. That's a very famous case, which was highlighted on the Article 9. So I will not do the excerpts of this case because of this online nature and the limited time that have been allocated at lecturers. So I will skip that, but mainly important things I have put in a different font and the commentary in most of the articles. So read those articles carefully, and if you are a bit curious to know on beyond that, which is not that useful for the subject, what you call for the Excel, you just ask me, especially if there are any trade practitioners in here, then they should know the outside and inside of the Vanathamidya case. Only the people who are in trade, right? If all the students are exam oriented, I am also exam oriented because being a lecturer. So therefore, it's not necessary. There was another reason I put this commentary. Remember, for the students, I need to reveal that when I extracted this, what you call this handout from the URC, Uniform Rules for Collection 522 textbook, I had to take permission from the ICC relevant people to preserve the patent rights and the copyrights. So therefore, I took that, and nevertheless, I did certain what you call these commentaries I put there so that it is not a mirror image of the articles. That is why I have put certain commentaries on certain articles, right? Right. So we did Article 3, Article 2, Article 7, and you have to read Article 6. Huh? Article 7, Article 8, important, not important, paramount important, very important. Article 8, 7 also equally important. Then I did Article 10A. So likewise, we will do the rest of the articles next time. And assignments of URC is not easy, it's difficult. So therefore, you need to study very well the article that I did and come. Don't pursue further and read and come because just mere reading will not have any knowledge. Unless I tell you to read a particular article and come, yes, I am doing that. read the article 18 and come next time when you're coming. Article 18. Right. So the article that I did, read it carefully, extract a short note if you can, and write it with my voice retrieval and prepare a short note. That is the short note you are going to write just 1 month before the study, just 1 month before the exam. Right. Right. We'll move on to the forex now. Right. I'm taking two scenarios. I'm taking two scenarios. That is time versus exchange rate. Two scenarios. So this is the time. We'll plot it January, February, March like that. We'll just put some exchange rates here. In January, we'll say it's about 185. Hope will not go up like this, but it went up to 192 recently, right? 186. So I will keep the same trend, 187, right? Now, we are in January. We are in January and February, March year to dawn. Right? No, the other way around. We are in February. We have seen January. We are in February, March year to dawn. Right. So this is how it goes. We'll take a trending, a descent curve, and we'll take another graph of the same nature: January, February, March, and we are in February now. Assume that we are in February now. So the graph is same thing the very way. January is 185, February 186. Now we are in here, right? We are past March year to dawn. March year to dawn. 197. The same thing, right? In a bit of way. Here, January is 187. February we are in now in 96. March year to dawn. So the customer export customer. I will explain why the export customer is. Export customer sees in January the dollar rate, that is the USD to LKR. USD to LKR is exchange rate is the parity of the exchange rate is 187. And we are in February. Customer is coming in February. Now it has come down by 1 rupee, 186. If this same trend continues, assume, then the customer will know in March year to dawn, it will come down to 185. 4, 3, like that it goes. So if he has done the export on January, somewhere in January, by the time that the money got realizes from the buyer, it comes and hit the bank's nostro account. Remember, when an exporter does the export through the bank, money will not go to his account straight away. It comes to the bank account. There's a floating account. That particular account is called a nostro, maintaining foreign currency. maintained in foreign currency. In currency wise, you get plenty of nostro accounts in the bank. Nostro. So it comes as the nostro account. So when the export is done by the customer, bank will not give dollars to the customer. Bank will give with rupees. So when the bank gives rupees for $1 that he has exported, the bank will give only 185. At the time that he exported, it was 187. Now the customer is in February, we are in February now, he's 186. So he fears he can't afford to have a decline of $2 from the date that he exported. That means he got panicked. And he rushes to the bank and says, something, I don't want to have 185, give me a rate above 185. Import is happy, export is panic. This panic is called bleeding. Exporter, importer is lagging. Lagging. Export is leading, import is lagging. So therefore, the bank will do an adjustment. That adjustment is called the forward buying rate. So you will calculate forward buying rate from now onwards. So that I will do later. Because that there are 1 or 2 theories I have to do. Now we take the other side of the coin. Now see, January is 185. We are in February, it's 186. If same trend continues, it ascends up to 187. Now this particular customer, that's the importer now, has opened an LC in January through his banker. At the time that he opened the LC, the parity of the USD to LKR was 185. Shipment being effected in February, all right, but documents are being accepted in March. Yet to dawn. When the documents come, if the documents are compliant, the bank has to pay, meaning the customer has to pay to the bank. But the bank has to, the customer has to pay 187 rupees. That will affect his costing. So he is panicked now, the way that he gets panicked, and that panic is called bleeding. Export is very happy, and he is lagging. Right? So that is the leading and lagging effect on the importer and the exporter. Right. So I will refresh this again later. Before that, I have to have a little bit of an intermediate theory. I'll do that. Might take a little time for that and shift back to this. And we'll do some scenarios after that. And after that, we'll end the session. Right. The other day I discussed about the discount and the premium discount. I will just and then do a small exercise with you all. I did discuss the other day. Think that you have 1 rupee in hand and a $1 in your hand. You go and deposit to a particular bank, and that bank will give an interest for that, for a placement that you do for the particular period. Right. We'll assume that we make a deposit or investment for 12 months, and the bank will give 5% or 6% for the credit of the nowadays the deposit rates are very low in case of rupee deposits. It's less than 10% actually. So 12 months we say that 5% is received by the bank. Right? So you get a, assume that you get what? 5% interest. 5% interest. On the same bank, on the same day, on the same scenario, you'd invest $1 also for the same period. and that bears you 1% interest. 1% interest. Now you see the same denomination, different currencies for the same period, you get different yields. In this scenario, this example that I took it, when you look at it, you say USD is at a higher premium than the LKR. USD is at a higher premium than of the LKR. This is the interest rate having the higher premium. Or else you can say LKR is at a higher discount than of the USD. So you can visualize with this example, LKR having 5% interest, USD is getting 1% interest, therefore USD is at a higher premium than the LKR. Or else you can say LKR is at a higher discount than USD. Therefore, we have taken down, I think, interest rate differential said to be 4. Interest rate differential said to be 4. Right. Little bit of a reminder again. I said the quotes could be in two ways: direct quote and indirect quote. In a direct quote, banks always buy low and sell high. In case of an indirect quote, bank always buy high and sell low. Remember, I illustrated that in the whiteboard. I hope that you have studied and come there. Right. Now we'll take an example. Take down with me. USD LKR. USD over LKR is 150. Right? Remember, when you are doing a exchange rate, banks used to give under 3 value dates. 3 value dates mainly for some purposes, right? One of the value date is called the cash value. Cash value. Or value cash. Or ready for cash. In certain literatures, you find the phrase of ready for cash. The banking term is value cash. Right? That means if a customer's account gets debited today, the customer account who is in abroad will get credited today itself. That's the same day transaction. So cash value means same day. Same day. Many transactions coming under our region like India, Pakistan, Thimphu, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka. Same day or cash value rates could be taken, provided that you do the transaction before 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Then the second value date is called the Tom value. Tom value means the customer account get credited 1 business day after the event date. That is, if the customer account get debited on Friday, customer account get credited only on Monday. 1 business day after the event date. 1 business day, not the calendar day. If it's a calendar day, it would have been on Saturday. 1 business day. So that if the Monday is a holiday at the recipient country, then it will be on Tuesday. So therefore, any trade practitioner who is working for trade division should be aware of the global timing and the holidays of that particular country on a particular days. Right? So term value is what? 1 business days plus the event date. So if you say correctly, event date plus 1 business day. Other value date is spot. Spot. Spot is not a, what do you call, the spot is not the dictionary word that you see for spontaneous or a mark or some spot. This spot is if a customer's account gets debited today, the customer account gets credited only 2 days, 2 business days after the event date. So event day plus 2 days, 2 business days. 2 business days. The customer account gets debited on Friday. Then the customer account gets credited not on Monday but on Tuesday. Right? So term value transactions are mainly done, especially in time wise when we are advanced, like US dollar payments to USA or Euro payments to Europe, or sterling pound payments to in the Great Britain, we can give a term value. But Far Eastern countries like China, Korea, Singapore, Australia mainly, New Zealand, the value wise well advanced to us. So you can't give a term value. You have to give a spot value. Otherwise, they will make you a charge, because by the time you make the payment and request them to give the credit, they have already closed. So we are forcing them to do it. So they will back value. When you back value, what happens? There's a back value charge. That's unbearable charge. You have to be very careful. So when you give me these value dates, you can't just do haphazardly. You have to be very meaningful if you are a practitioner to choose what is, whether it's a cash value or a term or a spot value that you are going to give the customer. Right. For our purposes, that is for all the treasury assumptions and the calculations and for up to the exam level, we consider the spot value only. But there are questions in the MCQ for the cash value and term value also as well, because this is the syllabus of all the sums that we are intending doing is based on spot value, meaning 2 days plus the event date. 2 days means 2 business days. Right. So day 1, USD to LKR is 150. In other words, this is the spot rate of this particular bank on day 1. Spot rate could be vary from bank to bank depending on their profit margin. Right. Day 1, the spot value is this. So value is spot. Right. So I will give a little bit of a different view for this. USD over LKR is 150 means 1 USD is equivalent to 150 LKR. I'm just writing the step by telling you, thinking that you will understand. If you have a difficulty of understanding, please do a nudge quickly so that I will address that commonly. So 1 USD is equal to 150. Right. So what I do is, these are fictitious, right? Just to put an idea across. I will take the $1 and make a placement. I will take the LKR 150 and do the placement. Assume that I am going to the same bank at the same time simultaneously. Well, I'll go to this bank and make an investment. We'll assume that we are making an investment for 6 months, or say to calculate easy, we'll say it's for 12 months. I'm getting 1%. So end of the year after the maturity date, I will get how much? 1% of 1 is not 1. Plus the capital, it will be 101. 1.01. right? Everybody will understand that, right? If it is for 6 months, I have to debit or rather divide this 1% by 2, right? So I will end up the same system. I will deposit the 150 also for the same period, the same bank at the same time. And for this, I am getting, say, that I am getting 10% for 12 months. If it was 6 months, it's 5%. Right. So 10% of 150 is 15. 15 plus 150 is 165. At the end of the maturity days, I will get a total capital plus the interest is 165. Whereas for US dollars, I got 101. Right? Now, in the day one, what is the parity of USD to LKR? 150. The parity of the USD to LKR is 150. To make it easy for me to explain, I will put a denominator here saying 150 over 1. So mathematically, I have not done a change in there. USD to LKR is equal to 150 over 1. I appreciate that you can understand that. Right. At the day 365, that is after 1 year's time, the USD to LKR parity would be this 150 has become 165. 1 has become 101. So the parity is 165 to 101. Right. So up to that point, just give you feedback from the voice or from the text, say that yes or no quickly, so that I could proceed further or make it a little bit of a slow explanation once again overall, because this is very much important. You can't skip the understanding levels. I'm coming to a difficult concept. That is why. So I need your feedback. Just tell me whether you understood the latest parity of after 365 days. What has happened to the spot rate? Give me 1 or 2 people, give me feedback. Yes? Let me know whether you understood or not. At least 1 or 2 people, 3 or 4 people. That will encourage me to proceed further, or else I may have to refer back again and explain slowly. So I'm waiting for your feedback. Right. Until you probably consider not making a nudge on that. Until you give me feedback, I'll proceed then. I'll consider that you have understood. So USD is equal to 165 to 101. So I'll take a separate this and erase this off. Right. This 165 had come. How? I took the spot rate of 150 and added the spot rate, that the capital, spot rate is capital, to the interest part of it. This 10% is per annum. If I made it for 6 months, I have to divide by 12 and into 6, right? The 101 has come. The capital is $1 plus 1 into 1 per annum. In the numerator, 150 is common. I'll take the 150 out of the parentheses. There will be 1 plus 10%. And the denominator is 1 plus 1%. Right. You are silent a little bit. I need a feedback for this source as well. If you are silent again, I'll assume that you are understood and proceed further. I'll give 1 or 2 seconds to come back to me quickly. Yes? Nobody understood or everybody understood and just keeping quiet or what? Right, just give me a feedback up to this point whether you understood. I can see a few people have logged in today. Giving names, Chaturi Padma Peruma, Janja Srivatsa, Gyan Peru, like that. There are about 15, I think, have logged in. Give me feedback whether you have understood up to this point. Okay. Right. So, unless you give me a proper feedback, I may not know whether you understood or not, but I'll proceed. Now, this one, the 150, is the spot rate of day one, right? Spot rate of day one. Right. So I will say spot 1%, sorry, 1 plus. Remember, now I see the feedback of you all. Okay, a lot of people have understood, right? But many are silent, I think, of the forum. I hope that they are also. Don't be shy if you do not understand on a particular thing, especially on a mathematical sequence. Just let me know so that I can put myself a little bit down and explain a little bit of different way or slowly, right? So don't get embarrassed of asking that, because that question could be as well the way that I'm explaining in a different way, right? In a exchange rate, the quoted rate, any rate, right? Any rate, the left-hand side of the quote, left-hand side of the oblique, is called the base rate, base currency. The right-hand side of the oblique is called the counter currency. Counter currency. In meaning US dollar LKR, if you find exchange rate like this, X and Y, X is the base currency, Y is the counter currency. Right. If that's the case, I told you that USD LKR I will write as like this. In other words, this is written USD to LKR 150. So this is the base currency, this is the counter currency. So I'm going to substitute that to get a generic formula. 1 plus 10% is the interest rate being yielded for a deposit you made in Sri Lankan rupees. According to the rate, exchange rate, LKI is a counter currency. So 10% is the interest rate of the counter currency. I will say interest on counter currency over 1 plus 1% is the interest rate yielded from US dollar, which is the base currency. Interest on this. So this is the USD to LKR rate after 365 days. After 365 days, 1 year. So that means you had the spot rate, right? After 1 year's rate, you have to write this. Only if you know the interest rates of those two currencies. So this is the forward rate. How much are forward? 365 days forward. Likewise, you can calculate for 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month. By that you can calculate. So what you need to remember is spot 1 plus interest on counter over 1 plus interest on base. That is the forward rate. From the forward rate, when you subtract the spot rate, when you subtract the spot rate from the forward rate, when you subtract the spot rate, that is, this is the forward rate, you subtract the spot rate is 150 spot rate, and if that equals or if that answer is a positive figure, that means it's a premium. It's a premium. From the spot rate, when you subtract spot, if the answer is a positive figure, that is not a minus figure but a positive figure greater than 0, that's why I say greater than 0, that means the conclusion is it's a premium. It's a premium. When you subtract, the result is a negative figure, then that means it's a discount. It's a discount. So that's how you figure out whether it's a premium or a discount. Right? So first instance you might not understand, or maybe that I'm putting across. But when you scribble a little later sheet of paper, you might get stuck. So therefore, you need to study well or understand well. You can't study mathematics now. You have to understand and write step by step without looking at this. Right? And do it over and over again and try to make it generic so that you can have a generic formula. The formula is very precise, and this is how you calculate the forward rate. The only only factor determining the forward rate is the interest rate. If you know the interest rates of the particular two currencies, then the calculating of the forward rate on a stipulated time is not a difficult thing. That's what the banks do. Right. Now take down this scenario with me. Scenario 1. $1 sale for 1 month. Okay, sale क्या? $1 sale for 1 month. Okay, sale क्या? Second scenario. $1 purchase, for 1 month against healthcare. Third scenario, $1 sale for 1 month this GBP. Fourth scenario, $1 purchase for 1 month against GBP. I will do these two, and this is for your homework. Once you do this, you need to give me a feedback, do and see whether you can have the same logic of the first and the second one, right? You have to practice. Right. Now we'll take the first scenario. $1 sale for 1 month against healthcare. $1 sale for 1 month against healthcare. That's a huge story behind it, right? I have summed up. So $1 sale means, listen carefully, the customer expecting a US dollar bill value for $1 after 1 month from now. And he is panic, he's leading, and therefore he wants the bank to quote a rate after 1 month, but he wants the rate today. He can't wait until the 1 month lapses and pay a higher bill. So that means who the customer now? Is the importer. So if there's a sale, it's always an importer. Now sale means not that the customer's point of view or the bank point of view. Bank is selling foreign currency towards the customer. That means a sale. If it's a purchase, that means it's an export. So this is the other side of the coin or the derivation of this. But I will do both so that you can change the two currencies the same manner to GBP. It doesn't say very correctly, right? It could be a little bit of complex. I will not blame you if you do not understand the first side of it, but see how it goes. Say, you remember the two graphs that I said now? We passed January, now we are in import leg. We are past January and we are in February, March year to dawn. March year to dawn. February was 186 and March, there's a tendency that might go up to 187. At the time the LCB opened, it was 185, the exchange rate. The customer is coming in February. Coming in February, after 1 month's time, there's a sale for $1. Value of the bill, assume that is $1. If the bank doesn't, if the customer doesn't come to the bank in February and tell the story and waits until March, neither the bank has predicted that and given the proper advice. Customer will the same. So if they are in February, if after 1 month's time, if 1 month what happens, bank will debit the customer account by $1. That is 180. The customer account will be debited for 187 rupees in March. And credit bank master account by $1. These are foreign currency account. This is what happens in March. If you wait until March, when the documents come, you have to debit. You can just keep the documents until the rate goes down. Immediately you settle the bill. Right. The customer don't want to do this. He comes in February. That's why the scenario is. Not in March, but in February. So in February, bank, the customer wants to do this transaction in February. So bank try to debit the customer customer's account, you can't debit the customer's account in February without the documents. Before documents come, you can't debit the customer and reflect the money because it's a provision of central bank regulations. No bank in the world does that. So therefore, you will see now there's a short of a leg in this particular transaction, bank unable to debit. But LPR. For this matter, bank cannot debit anybody else's account also as well because those are not belong to the bank. It's the liability towards them. So A Fando's money cannot be debited to recover from the B Fando's. So bank is lack of rupees now because of the customer's demand. Therefore, the bank has to borrow rupees. So we see bank have to borrow rupees, borrow LKR. Bank has to borrow LKR. When bank borrows LKR, what happens? When you borrow something, bank has to do interest. So bank borrows for 1 month. Bank borrows for 1 month, and for the bank will pay interest or 1% per annum. 1 month interest will be 1 upon 12. Right? And bank borrows rupees, and 1 month that is. And after 1 month lapses, bank will convert those rupees and trade the $1 to the seller or the seller's bank appropriately. So that means bank is keeping those rupees 1 month idling. So these rupees tend to be idle for 1 month. Remember, idle money is wasted money. Idle money is wasted money. That's the bank job. Right? So therefore, what the bank will do is, immediately bank will convert this borrowed LKR into US dollars at the spot selling rate. Spot selling rate. And place it for 1 month. Invest for 1 month, for which bank will receive interest. Up to that point, we take it down. Take down the scenario. I took it down, no? First scenario, that is $1 sale for 1 month against LKR. Right. Take it. In this scenario, bank has to borrow LKR. Now, why the bank has to borrow LKR, I have explained. That you have to visualize now once again when you are free. Right? Bank has to borrow LKR, for which it has to pay interest. Which is parenthesis R1% term per annum. R1% term per annum. Selling these rupees will be immediately converted to the spot selling rate. Spot selling rate into USD. And will invest for 1 month. And will invest for 1 month. For 1 month. For which bank will receive interest. For which the bank will receive interest. With parentheses R2% per annum. Underneath say, now 1 month forward selling rate Now, 1 month forward selling rate. When I say selling rate, forward exchange rate, forward selling rate is calculable. Calculable. That is able to calculate. Calculable. 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 Hence, USD to LKR 1 month. 1 month forward rate of USD to LKR is equal to spot. The time of transaction, bank is aware of the spot rate. The spot rate is known. What? 1 plus interest on counter. What is the interest on counter? You borrowed LKR at what percent? R1%. So interest counter is R1%. That was per annum. We are calculating for 1 month divided by 12. Right? Over 1 plus interest on base in the US dollar, and we reinvested at the R2% per annum. R2% per annum. Divided by 12. So this is the spot rate. Right? So my task was to get the two interest rates somehow. So that is why the bank will keep on buying and selling and buying and selling like that. So when you buy, you have to pay interest. When you sell, you receive interest. So ultimately motive of the bank is to get the two interest rates. When you have the two interest rates, if you know the spot rate, and if you know the period, calculation of the what you call the forward rate for the stipulated time is a click of a button. Right. That's why I said interest forward rate for 1 month is calculable. I showed the way that you are calculating. Right. Second scenario. $1 purchase for 1 month against LKR. $1 purchase for 1 month against LKR. So that means now the export customer comes to the export division of your bank. You know, in the trade finance division, you get two separate segments, two separate divisions. In the big banks, you find those export department and the import department are completely two different departments. But in some others, most of the banks, you have this import and export together. Right. So this particular customer comes to the export division and says, I have done the export in January. Now he's coming in February, right? I have done the export in January. Very likely, after 1 month's time, proceeds of that dollar will come and hit your Nostro account. But the rates are going down up to 185. So I want a rate more than 185. So he wants, in other words, the bank to book forward buying rate for 1 month. So we'll book and see how it calculates, right? Right. If the customer doesn't come in February and comes in March, apparently what happens? Bank will debit the Nostro account for $1 because it has got realized to Nostro account. And then the customer in LKR with 185 only. That is in March. The customer don't want to do this. He wants to do this transaction in February. March not yet done. So bank trying to debit the Nostro account in February cannot debit the Nostro account because the money has not come to the Nostro account. You can't overdraw Nostro accounts. So therefore, now Nostro account is a dollar account. So therefore, bank is short of a leg, which is a dollar leg. So the bank has to borrow dollars in this scenario. Right. So in this scenario, what happens? Bank has to borrow dollars. Borrow dollars. For which bank has to pay interest? Bank borrows dollars for 1 month. Bank has to borrow dollars for 1 month, for which bank has to pay interest or 1% per annum. Keeping dollars for 1 month, customer is paid after 1 month in rupees. So keeping dollars for 1 month is idle money. So I told you that's another doctrine. Idle money is wasted money. So keeping dollars for 1 month is a opportunity cost for the bank. So therefore, bank will immediately convert these dollars into rupees and reinvest in rupees. Right. Immediately converted dollars into rupees. How? At the rate of spot buying. In other words, you can say demand buying or demand selling. That's the banking term. But the real treasury term is spot buying or spot selling. Spot buying. To emphasize, we are dealing with spot transactions only. Spot buying. And immediately convert this into LKR. And the bank will reinvest this LKR for 1 month, for which the bank will receive interest for the investment or 2% per annum. Now we have to interest rates. So therefore, 1 month forward buying rate would be calculable. Take it down scenario. Say, you have taken down scenario already, no? Right. Say, in this scenario, bank has to borrow dollars. Bank has to borrow dollars. 8 minutes to go. Bank has to borrow dollars, which it has to pay interest with parenthesis R1% per annum. R1% per annum. These dollars will be immediately converted into LKR at the spot buying. At the spot buying. Invest for 1 month, for which bank will receive interest with parenthesis R2% per annum. Now the forward buying rate for 1 month is calculable. Now the forward rate for 1 month is calculable. Right. Hence, USD LKR parity 1 month is equivalent to spot rate is known. 1 plus interest on counter. What is the interest on counter in this time? R2. Counter parity. So LKR is R2 this time. So therefore, 1 plus R2% per annum divided by 12. Remember, when you divide by 12, you divide only the percent term, not the whole thing. Over 1 plus interest on base, which is the dollar. Dollar attracted R1% this time. So we'll say R1% per annum divided by 12. So that is the 1 month forward rate for buying and the early one for the fall selling rate. The second scenario, when you subtract this forward rate by the spot rate, you get a negative figure. You get a negative figure. That means it's a discount. In the early scenario, when you put actual figures and subtract the spot rate from the forward rate that you arrive, you get a positive figure. Therefore, it's a premium. It's a preview. In the 80.50, then the premium is 50 cents. If the rate is 180.50 today, and after 1 week or 2 weeks time it goes down to 180, then the discount is 50 cents. Right? So this is how you calculate the forward exchange buying rate and the selling rate. Not rocket science, just a simple arithmetic with the grade 5 mathematical knowledge that we did this. Right. So third scenario is the $1 sale for 1 month against GBP. We apply the same thinking and try to write the narration the way that I have given. Before that, you have to do a little bit of quantifying and see what you are going to borrow, what currency that you are going to borrow, right? And a little bit of a scribble that you need to do and do the narration. And after that, do the calculation, right? And conversely, you can do for the purchase item also against GBP. What is against GBP? What is against Rupiah? In second, account to debit he wants to debit his GB account for the import and credit the GB account for his export. That's all. So you need to visualize after doing a little bit of a table which currency that you need to borrow. You means the bank. Then calculate the forward exchange rate buying and selling separately. Right. So that will end our session within 2 weeks time. But I need you as quickly as possible when you understood very well on this concept. So next time we will hit the major sum of the forex. Now let me know, like good souls, whether you understood or not. If you don't understand even, I have another 2 weeks to explain a little bit. Here and there the areas you did not understand. Otherwise, you have to communicate with me separately. Yes, I'm waiting for your comment. The 2 scenarios. I'm not getting a feedback. Right. Thank you, Purnima and Kartika, right? Kirtika, Namasivaya. And 2 people have said understood, and Jihani Pereira understood. Okay. So I assume that the rest of the people also have understood. And if there's a little bit of a query on this, please do write to me, or rather make a send to my mail or send me a text even, doesn't matter. I will explain that then. Right. So I'll see you on next Sunday. Time is up now. See you on next Sunday. And we'll continue with the URC and try to finish the URC quickly as possible. And if time permits, at least 15-20 minutes time, I will touch the Incoterms also as well. With parallel the forex. So after the URC and Incoterms is completed, I will do some assignments related to this, related to Incoterms and URC. That means your 2 questions are taken care of. Then I will start immediately the revolving structuring, right? Revolving facilities. So with the revolving facilities, the forex sum is all right. Then your 4 questions are being taken care of. That is well above the pass mark, right? It's a matter of taking a distinction along with the touching of the UCP, which is more complex. So if time permits, I will do that process. Right. So let's see you on next Sunday.